10 or 11. There's no meat plant owned by the city dump. I hung around there all the time, drugging guts and pumping water for the hog vat and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of drunks. So one time they had 7 hogs to do. They got 6 of them done. And I had them hanging up, and so it took them long enough to do that last hog that I had time to voice them all down, shave them, and gut them out, and have them all ready by the time they got that last hog done. Boy, they were so surprised when they came out there and they didn't have to do them hogs. The guy got in his pocket and gave me $3 silver.
Wow.
For doing the 6 hogs.
I can do this the rest of my life.
I won't tell them all I'm going to be a butcher for sure.
We left Jackson Hole in the middle of the first snow in the Grand Teton Mountains of Wyoming. We didn't have the clothes to make it through the worst of that sub-zero winter that was coming. Me and Mama and our new baby boy all wrapped up, pointed our old loaded car south to Vegas.
Can you tell me how old you were when you started butchering?
15.
15. And where were you living? Where was that?
Ontario and Oregon. Ontario Meat Company.
He lived across the street from a meat company when he was growing up. And, you know, I want to say that he probably started over there when he was 10 or 11.
What year was he born, do you know?
He was born in 1931.
When I met Grandpa, he was just driving a truck. You know, he didn't, well, he butchered, but I was in school, and then he had a truck route to deliver meat, and so he'd come up to my town, and after I met him, my mom would sometimes let me go with him at noon from school, and then because he had to go to Baker after he'd come to Vail and deliver meat in the morning, and then he'd have to go to Baker in the afternoon, which was another 80 miles. And so she would let me go with him on the truck, and I'd do the bookwork and collect the money on the truck while he delivered the meat to the people.
And so, yeah, he would go over and start helping out, and just gradually picked it up from there. And it worked out well for him a little bit later. When he was 16, he quit school and started working full-time. But at that time, his mom was in a wheelchair. She'd had arthritis, and just like in the matter of a couple of years, she was in a wheelchair. And so he had 2 younger brothers, and his dad had already passed away. So he was in charge of taking care of the family, and it was really, he'd kind of get her set up by the stove there at home, and then he'd go across the street and work and be able to come back and check on her because there was nowhere else for her to go.
That road was long, but I was filled with what I call my pride. And inside I believed we would make it. From hand to mouth we lived like the sundowners wrote about.
But you were only about 10 when the war started, weren't you?
They had that in 42.
Yeah.
I was born in 31.
Yeah.
Then I had a couple of years experience with that old meat plant before that. So when they we got that other plant built up, we got all ready to run the first batch, 4 or 5 or 6 small beef, baby beef, got big veal. Told the boss, I said, well, I'll just butcher those out, I already know how to butcher. Oh, he thought that was pretty funny. Is that right? Yep, I know how to butcher the thing.
Lilies grow fine in a mill pond. In the desert, cactus bloom with no bother. The dandelion comes in the summertime, but heartaches grow in salt water. Cotton grows tall in the bottomland. Sunflowers found where it's hotter. The green mouse creeps where the willow weeps. But
my earliest memory is actually, I don't know, I was probably very young, 3-ish, and you guys always talked about the meat plant, and I knew what these 2 words were, meat and plant. And I was at Alpine, and just the 2 of us were walking around, and I was literally expecting a plant that grew meat on it, and I was looking for it, and finally I asked you where the meat plant was, and you said, it's all around us, and that was a little bit too big of a concept for me at that age.
1981, Dad and Joe bought the meat plant. That's when I was teaching. Maybe it was 1980 they bought it, because they bought it about the same time I started teaching. I started teaching the 79-80 school year up in northeastern Oregon.
These lonely eyes that never dry, see heartaches grow like bitter
And so I taught for 2 years, and when they bought the meat plant, the man who owned it at that time just didn't have much in the way of customer service, and so kind of ran off all the customers, and that's when Dad and Joe bought it. And then they, of course, people knew Dad and Joe. They were real busy for a couple years, and then I came back, married my wife in northeastern Oregon up in Enterprise, and then came back here. And so I quit teaching and came back to run the meat plant.
The rain and the breeze grow tall oak trees, but heartaches live in salt water. The rain and the breeze grow tall oak trees, but heartaches live in salt water.
Joey, one night it was rain in the meat van. He come in there and he had the rain gear roll down over and he was soaking. Yeah, I'm quitting.
Draw the line right here.
He's on, I'm quitting. I said, what are you gonna do now? I don't know. I said, well, what are you gonna quit for? I'm doing all the work and somebody else is getting all the money.
Custom butchering is when you go out to someone's farm, and with the way we do it, we have a mobile slaughter truck, and so the truck actually goes out to the farm, butchers the animal, slaughters the animal, brings the carcass into the meat plant, and then the processing is done the way the people who own the beef want it done.
I tried to take you guys down there, especially you, Sarah, before Denver, really often. I don't know if it was every day.
We lived
That's
really
it.
close.
That was the only time we'd see him. Dad was always good about taking a little break so he could come and see you. One time you got a bean stuck in your nose. Do you remember that? So I had to take it Alpine for Dad to help get that out.
Did you get out?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I don't remember it.
Yeah, you got it out. I don't remember how, but yeah, got it out so I didn't have to call the doctor. His family was a little different than my family, and they worked all the time and together.
From coast to coast, border to border, and then some. Talk about worthless, wasted miles, I've been some.
You know, I remember back when I was 6 years old, my mom would take us down and she'd go pick up Dad's check. He got paid every Friday. She'd go down and pick up Dad's check, and she'd go in the front where Dad was cutting meat, and my brother and I would go around to the back of the meat plant where they were actually slaughtering the animals, and most everything they killed back then, they shot it with a .22, so we'd go out and pick up the empty .22 shells. But, you know, I think one of the guys back there let me shoot one of the cows when I was 6, if I remember right. I mean, it was...
Where did you learn all of the different cuts for meat? Like if you see a side of beef and know where to cut it up?
Well, I learned a little bit kind of growing up down there, but you know, when you even growing up in the business, you kind of get to do different things, not the whole big thing. You know, you get to learn how to handle a knife and trim this out or whatever. But no, when I first went back to Alpine and started running the saw, Joe.
Your brother Joe?
Brother Joe.
Well, I learned a lot just being around him.
I mean, until you've actually seen Joe skin a pig, he's amazing. Nobody skins pigs like Joe. I mean, and you heard my dad say, you know, he started butchering when he was 10. And he doesn't skin pigs like Joe. What do people, a lot of people surprised when you showed up there to butcher and you're only 17 years old or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, they always wondered where the older guy was.
Uncle Joe and I were on Jenkins Road and above Mom and Dad's house down there.
Where's he?
He's in Salem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was
Was he
he
in Florida for a
butchering a
while?
pig.
For like a couple years, yeah.
So everything's going fine.
Yeah, and he came back. Didn't go
We've
back.
already got it skinned. And got it. We bring it up on the hoist, right? To get ready to split it. And all of a sudden, the pig starts jumping like this. And we both jump back, oh my God, you know, there's no way this thing's alive. I mean, he's been dead for half an hour. Well, what we didn't realize with the gut room door, it swung open and hit the electric fence. So every time the fence would pulse, it would go through and come down the cable, and the pig would jump. It took us a few minutes to figure that out.
I know you lived down there. It seemed like we all did. It didn't hurt any of us. Made strong kids out of you.
Well, the peach picking didn't last long down in Georgia. So my money run out way too soon in Florida. I thought I'd do some rambling, so I've been gone. From coast to coast, border to border, and then some. Well, it's a long way from anywhere you are to Alaska. And it's colder than a well digger there, should anybody ask you. The thermometer busted the day I hit Montana. And that sent me heading home to Louisiana. California seemed just a little bit out of the way. But I heard about that sunshine and it rained every day. Every road I hit seemed a little bit more lonesome. From coast to coast, border to border, and then some.
Number one rule? What is it? Keep your mouth closed. That's right. Keep your mouth shut.